This is a good question. If you don't mind, Baruch Hashem, I have an unelectronic house, no WhatsApp, internet, etc. My kids draw and play and have a great attention span. However, they beg to go to their grandparents to watch a video, or if I have a guest with an iPhone, they go crazy and can't look away. Am I making their tithe greater by not giving them any technology? This is a very good question. The answer to that is no. Of course, this is on a case-by-case basis. The reality is that these things are only problems if your children have no limits. If your children know that when they go to their grandparents, they're going to watch a video, or they're going to watch a WhatsApp, or they're going to see a game, it's not worth to get into a fight with your children. It's not worth to get into a fight, especially with your parents or your in-laws over it. It will not become a problem. It'll only become a problem if you believe it's a problem, which means, very clear, they have it, we don't. That's the way it is. Of course, you want to be careful that grandparents or whoever the house they're going to is a kosher place. If there is no filter on it, no, I wouldn't recommend you letting your child go there. But if you are pretty much clear that where they're going, there's no anything inappropriate there, I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. Set limits. I use always the example of children from divorced parents who have different rules in one house and different rules in another house. It's easy and children understand it when you say to them, that's what they do in our house, we don't do that in our house. Don't be afraid of setting that limit. Other people may do certain things, we don't. You've got to figure out how you're going to say it, but I don't think you should buy into that because it does take a little bit more strength and it takes a little bit more energy in thinking it through about knowing what to say about why we don't have a smartphone in our house. By the way, I say to my children, because about smartphone and about internet, I always say to them, this is not a problem for you, this is an issue for us. We are a house which has filters in our phones. We are a house which don't have computers out in the open. When it comes to showing young preschool children videos of the Rebbe, how much is too much in reference to screens? That's a very good question. I think this is where the World Health Organization comes into play, where they say before the age of 2, it is not a good idea to show videos to your children at all, and that's whether they're Rebbe videos or not. Rebbe videos, unfortunately, can become a gateway to other videos, especially if you show it to them on a screen or on a computer which they control, and therefore they learn how to use it. I don't think it's a good idea at all. Sure, nothing wrong with preschool children watching Rebbe videos. I don't think they should be watching them under the age of 2. I don't think it's healthy. If they are, it should be done on an occasional basis. Or it should be done in such a way that they're not in control of the unit which they're watching. Definitely not to watch it more than the amounts of times they say it's worthwhile, which is the age of 2 to 5, no more than an hour a day. Wow. My kids have a checklist of things to do before screen time: homework, snack, playing a real game, cleaning the room, putting in the laundry, and filling out missions. So indeed it's a reward and a great motivator. So screen time isn't used as a reward. They should get it for free. No, this is perfect. Whoever wrote this is exactly perfect. No, you're not giving them to it as a reward. You're giving this to them as a natural fact. They're allowed to watch their computer. They're allowed to have screen time, but they have some requirements before it, just like lunch and breakfast or dinner or dessert or ice cream. That's something you would give them anyway. And what you're doing is, if they don't do their homework, if they don't eat their snack, or whatever else it is, or play a game, or things, then you'll say to them, you can't play on the computer. So in a sense, you're turning it from a reward into something which is okay for them to do. You understand that as kids, this is something they can have, but if they don't do their tasks, you're going to take it away from them. I hope that answers that question. What should you do if you discover your child is watching something inappropriate on a parent's phone, on YouTube? How's the best way to approach the child about this? Ooh, that's a very, very good question. Read that over again. What should you do if you discover your child was watching something inappropriate on a parent's phone or on YouTube? How is the best way to approach the child about it? Okay. We do not know. I'm not sure what your child was watching inappropriate. Do you mean, let's say they were watching an R-rated video and you don't know what it was? Or were they watching something like pornography, which is totally traumatic for a child? It's a big issue. Here's the interesting thing. Once your child has seen that kind of thing, sometimes it's important for you to talk to a professional specifically, to talk this over, to figure out how to speak to the child. I've seen children under the age of 5 or 6 who've unfortunately been exposed to these things, but kids have a way of forgetting that kind of stuff. But I want to be careful because I'm being recorded. Sometimes there is, and often there is trauma which occurs to a child when they see something inappropriate. Now, inappropriate could be something which is not sneeze inappropriate, severely inappropriate, or it can be something like violence. You may not think that that's a big deal. That extreme violence for a child who's never seen that before can also be seriously traumatic for the child. You may not even realize that the child was traumatized until a couple of days later when they're not sleeping well or they're starting to act out in strange different ways. I would suggest, I don't want to, knowing that I'm being recorded, all I would say is, if you believe that your child saw something inappropriate, talk to a professional, talk to somebody, and get help about how to approach that child. If you know your child is watching something inappropriate, which means you know that your child is watching things either on a regular basis or has watched something, then you need to sit down with them and have a real conversation with that child, no holds barred, about things like sneers, about things like violence. You're going to have to clarify in your mind why we are not watching this stuff and why this stuff is unhealthy. You cannot just tell your child, you cannot watch that, it's not appropriate, because your child has already been traumatized. Now, I say traumatized, I'm saying that about bochrim, I'm saying that about girls. When they see things which they're not expecting to see, which they shouldn't be seeing at a young age, they are traumatized by it, and they need to talk to somebody about it. You'll be surprised. I've spoken to lots of kids in the ages of 9 and up who've seen things, 8 years old and up, who have seen things which they shouldn't have been seeing, and when they are happy to hear from an adult that yes, those things are out there, and to hear in very simple language why we don't watch it, because it is something special, it's something sneers, it's something, or violence, for example, to explain to them about the preciousness of life, or the preciousness of relationships, and how this cheapens things, etc., etc. They understand it. And trying to hide from them, or trying not to talk to them about that, isn't going to help. I think we have to become more open and more comfortable with these kind of conversations if we need to have it. What about Jewish videos? Is it okay for young children to watch Jewish children videos? I don't think so. I think that, like I said before, the World Health Organization, and we all know that watching these videos is not a great idea. Now, of course, it's better than better than having a nervous breakdown. It's better than another alternative, which is if you have no other option. I'm not here to make you all, to punish you all, and to say to you, don't give your kids videos. But it is important to understand that there are some guidelines which make sense. Children under the age of 2 shouldn't be watching a lot of videos. Once in a while, that's fine. It's not healthy for them. Children between the ages of 2 and 5, 1 hour a day is more than enough. And it is having some effect on your child. I recognize the reality. And in today's world, we're going to have to make some compromises. And you're going to have to let your child watch some videos once in a while. That's the way things are. I don't think it will kill your child. I don't think it will destroy your child. But be careful. If you're making it a regular daily thing, it's going to have an impact on your child. Follow all the rules. The rules are, you have a specific time frame, not before they go too much before they go to sleep, and keep a specific schedule. An hour a day, half hour a day, 20 minutes a day, and don't make it variable. Some days 2 minutes, some days 20 minutes, some days 2 hours, because you are teaching a bad habit. What if phones are used to see relatives far away? That's a great use of phones today. I don't see any problem with that whatsoever. Using WhatsApp for your kids to see, even the younger kids, little kids seeing those things, that's much different. That is interactive, and that's a healthy way to use a cell phone today. That they can reach out, they can connect, they can see Bubby and Zadie. I'm a Zadie, so I have a reason for saying this. But it's true. You've got to realize that's when you're using the phone in a very transparent way. The phone is being used to connect with Bubby. It's being used to connect with Zadie. They are seeing that this is not a babysitting tool. It has a specific function which makes a lot of sense and fits in their life. It fits with their values. It fits in their values to talk to Bubby and Zadie and to connect with people. For example, when your child, when your daughter, your son is away at school somewhere and he's using his cell phone to be able to connect with you, that's a great way to use it. But the problem becomes if your child is away in Chicago, Toronto, Detroit, wherever it is, and you're giving your child a cell phone because you want him to use it to WhatsApp with you, and what is he doing with it? What is she doing with it for the rest of the time? That's when it becomes a problem. I want my child to see videos of the Rebbe. Is it okay to show short clips to my 17-month-old? No. I'm going to leave that for last. Does blue light affect a child if he's on the phone for about 5 to 10 minutes right before going to sleep? Yeah, it does affect him, but it does affect him or her, but it's not going to cause the blue light is not going to cause significant damage. The research shows that between the ages of 2 and 5, if they're watching it for up to an hour a day, it's not going to cause them that much damage. Will it interfere with their ability to fall asleep? Yes, it will. You show them a little bit of things before they go to sleep, right before they go to sleep. Yes, it will affect them. 5 to 10 minutes, unlikely to cause that much damage. It's unlikely to interfere that much. But if you'll be able to see for yourself, is your child antsy? When you turn off that thing and then you say, well, not that phone, he said, now go to bed, and you see that your child is unsettled, understand that they're not going to be able to go to bed because they've been stimulated and it's going to take some time. You're going to need to have to slow the pace with them, sit with them in the lower light. You're going to have to talk to them for a little while. They're going to have to do something with them so that they can get into the rhythm, ready to go to sleep. Example, my son does his Tzivos Hashem missions on my phone once he's in bed, does a short amounts of time, and no game affect his sleeping. We do know that it does interfere a little bit with their circadian rhythm. I don't believe 5 to 10 minutes is going to be that much of a big deal. And I'm assuming if it's Tzivos Hashem, it's a kid who's over the age of 5, and in the age of 5 they say it's not that big of a deal. 5, 10 minutes I don't believe is going to be a serious problem. So, I would say this, because this is helping me sharpen what to say tonight. If you are showing your children totally kosher things, I think it's important to keep in mind what the research shows. That before the age of 2, it is not a good idea to show your children these videos. Even if they're Rebbe videos. from a health perspective, it's not a good idea. From the age of 2 to 5, an hour is more than enough. Any more than an hour is likely to interfere and to cause some kind of, this is just the research which they're able to prove, is likely to cause some long-term effects on your children. After the age of 5, I think the number goes up to a couple of hours, etc., etc. But I will tell you this, whatever age your child is, even till the age of 18, 19, I don't know if you have any power over your children after the age of 19. If you do, you're very lucky. But up until the age of 18, 19, there's nothing wrong with making a rule. Don't take your cell phone to bed. Give me your cell phone. Give us the cell phone. We will take your cell phone. We'll give it back afterwards. I think you can give up a little bit of control to be able to implement that rule. What I mean by that is, you give me the phone, you can have more time on your phone. I will mind my own business. Of course, I suggest you have a filter, put on a filter, but give them a little bit more leeway so that you can take that phone away from them at 9 o'clock at night or at 10 o'clock at night, whatever time is bedtime. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless us all. Then, 1 second. Specific filter ideas, aside from the one you gave, what about kids listening to audio, like Nokia radio? Audio doesn't have the same problem. Again, you want to be careful that you don't want this to become a babysitter for them. Again, the biggest issue here is that are you allowing this to, the health issues are not there with audio. There are some when you're listening to headphones and things like that, but not the same type of issues. The babysitting issues are there, your child not having the same kind of connection, interfering with their ability to connect with you, interfering with their ability to develop connections with friends. All of those things are still going to be there. But radio is obviously not going to be the same stimulating as we're looking at a screen, and I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. Specific filter ideas. There are two which I'm going to recommend. One of them is called Gentech, and the other one is called NetSpark. Both of those are filters which can easily be downloaded. I personally use NetSpark, and the reason why I use it is because from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 7 o'clock at night, you never have to wait more than 15 minutes to get a real person on the phone and to walk you through. I used to be phone savvy, not anymore. That somebody will walk you through if there's any problems. For example, somebody finds a leak in my phone, or one of my clients has a leak in their phone, which means somehow either they can't use an app or something came through which they didn't want to see. They can get on the phone, and in 5 minutes somebody's going to help them. That's NetSpark. There's a program here called Tag, and they will help you with those things. What about teens who study from phone late into the night? And friends, what's up late into night for a high school child? I don't think this is a good idea. I think this is dangerous. This is on a case-by-case basis. I don't know what to tell you. It's usually not a good idea. And this is, again, how well do you know your child? How well do you know what your child is doing on the phone? We know that children are going to be on the phone till late hours talking to each other. All I can say is I know what it's like having teenagers, and I know how they want to do that, but you probably want to set some limits, because this is the beginning of how kids get stuck and get caught into the phone. 12 o'clock, they're still on the phone with their friends. The friend hangs up, they've got a cell phone, and they're continuing to use it. And it becomes a problem. If they're WhatsApping and doing things like that because they need to, obviously that's what they need to do. It's part of an educational tool for them, but I recommend that you be very careful with this because it most often leads to other problems. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bench us that we have this siyata d'shmaya, to live in a generation where we have issues which we're struggling with, which life is becoming harder and harder for us. But at the same time, I am seeing that our children are becoming stronger and stronger. And that even when we do these things well, I have had conversations with kids, 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, kids who have seen things, like I like to say, which the worst going in the time of the Alter Rebbe never saw in his entire lifetime. Our kids have seen in 5 minutes going somewhere where they shouldn't have gone. And I've seen that Baruch Hashem, these kids have survived with the proper help, and they are thriving when we have open conversation with our children. And if you're not comfortable having an open conversation, but accessing that kind of conversation, speaking to someone, there are professionals who can help you. There's quite a lot of professionals who will help you. They don't have to be dafka, specifically Lubavitcher people, but you do want them to be Fruma people, and you do want them to respect your values. The problems which we're struggling with, like we said, we're struggling today. Everybody's struggling, but the answers we give our children obviously are going to be different for different people. If you have a concern about something, a specific concern, call. Those of you who want my number, I'll gladly give you my number. I am a professional, so I do charge for extensive calls. But a short call or a short question by email, I would gladly answer. If it becomes more complicated, it makes sense to make an appointment. My phone number is, if you want to take down this information or if you want to take a card, I'll gladly give it to you. It's 612-998-5669. And if anybody wants a card, you can come up here and I'll give you a card. I don't have that many, but I've got a few of them. I'll give them out those who have some more extensive questions. I just want to ask some. Yashakayach, everybody.